What should I do with my life? In this video, we'll talk about some advice from Joseph Campbell. Now, he's a famous author and thinker who wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, where he read all these different myths and religious traditions and stories and kind of pointed out this hero's journey, which is the common pattern that pretty much every good story that humanity's ever come up with follows the same pattern. He was an expert on anthropology, myths, culture, religion, spirituality, philosophy, everything like that. Really brilliant guy. And in this video, I'm going to offer a little bit of advice that he would give in terms of like figuring out what should I do with my life. And the first lesson, I'll start with a story. He says there was this time he was out to dinner, and at a table sat a father, a mother, and a scrawny little boy. And the father says to the boy, "Drink your tomato juice." And the boy says, "I don't want to." And the father, in a louder voice this time, says, "Drink your tomato juice." And the mother says, "Don't make him do what he doesn't want to do." And the father looks at her and says, "He can't go through life doing what he wants to do and nothing else. If he only does what he wants to do, he'll end up dead. Look at me. I've never done a thing I wanted to do in all my life." Now that's a man who never pursued his happiness. That's a man who never, as Joseph Campbell would say, followed his bliss. So there's really two parts to this video. The first is talking about his philosophy of what I would call experience over meaning. And then the second one is following clues. So how do you kind of figure out what it is you want to do with your life? So experience over meaning. I think he gives one of the most just powerful explanations I've ever heard, where he taught that what we don't want is not the meaning of life. What we want is the experience of being alive. So it's about feeling alive and living fully. Life has no meaning. We bring the meaning to it. How do you live fully, right? That's really what the question is. Like, how do we experience our life in the fullest possible way? And he goes on to teach, one of my favorite quotes is, if you really want to help this world, what you will have to teach is how to live in it. So here's how I think about this. It's not so much like, oh, this purpose or this meaning, but it's like, what can we do that really makes us feel like we're coming alive or feel that we are living our lives fully? And when we do that, we're also helping other people, because what the world needs is people who have come alive, right? And they're really enjoying what they're doing. They're engaged, they're passionate, they're motivated, they're interested. They're not just bored sitting there. So what I would say the first part of this video is when you're thinking about stuff is, don't think so much about like, what do I have to do or what should I do? Or even like, I don't know, like what is the meaning of life? Like, what is my purpose? The my purpose trap is so, what is your purpose? What is my purpose? We're floating around on a wet, damp rock in the middle of infinite darkness. It's been hurtling through space for the last however many billion years. Wait, what is the purpose? Like, in a billion years from now, we'll all be dust in the heart of a sun. There's no purpose, right? I would argue. I think it's much more practical to say, what makes me feel alive? Like, what do I want to do? What do I enjoy doing? What really kind of heightens my experience of my daily life? Okay, that's the first part. The second part then is what I would call following clues. So I was telling my friend that Joseph Campbell talks about the spiritual life through how you engage with the world. And he said, the way to find out about your happiness is to keep your mind on those moments when you feel most happy, when you really are happy, not just excited, not just thrilled, but like deeply happy. Now, this requires some self-analysis. What is it that makes you happy? Stay with it, no matter what people tell you. This is what I call following your bliss. Now, I was kind of reading there from Joseph Campbell. There's something inside you that knows when you're in the center, that knows when you're on the beam or off the beam. Think like a balance beam. And if you get off the beam to earn money, boom, you've lost your life. And if you stay in the center and don't get any money, you still have your bliss. You're still enjoying what you're doing. And in this little story, my friend asked me, well, are you on the beam or off? And before I could even think, I kind of blurted out like, oh, I'm off. I was spending far too much time on like business stuff and marketing and technical stuff that's not so much fun. That's pulling me away from the part I like, which is doing videos like this, reading books, writing, etc. And so the question for you as you watch this is then to think, don't think too much about it, just answer, are you on the beam or off the beam? Okay, and that's going to help shift your trajectory back towards the direction that you ought to be going when we think about Joseph Campbell's advice of following your bliss. And so here's how I think about putting together that clue is not so much a one-time thing, but each week, each month, certainly each year, is kind of asking, hey, am I on the beam or am I off the beam? And again, beam being that centered place where, going back to what I said before about experience over meaning, you really feel like you're living it the right way, right? You feel like you're experiencing being alive and you're sort of activating like, oh, this is pretty good. So if you're not on the beam, you just, do what you can to get back on it. And you might drift off again, but it's sort of like navigating in like a boat or something. It's like you may drift a little off course and then you have to reset, drift a little off course and reset, right? You're going left to right, but overall you're heading in the direction that you want to be going in. So every time we can kind of pause and ask ourselves, am I on the beam or am I off the beam? What is it that really makes me feel deeply happy and fulfilled? And how can I do a little bit more of that? Or how can I kind of gravitate towards that? We start to follow these clues to following our bliss, where we uncover, hey, what should I be doing with my life that's going to make me happier? And we keep in mind that it's often kind of hard, I think, to think of some grand purpose or meaning or something. But it's like, what really make me experience being alive, right, in a sincere way? So I think if you put these together, you're in a position to come away from this video and think, okay, am I on the beam or off the beam? What do I need to do to get back on it? And you repeatedly ask yourself that question and you do some self-analysis around what are the activities or the people or the things that really make you happy and really make you feel like you are coming alive and experiencing being alive in the fullest way possible. And if you keep investigating those questions, I think it'll start to get you towards where you want to go for what can be a really tough question of like, what should I do with my life, or what should I do with my career, what should I do for school, what should I do with whatever. I think Joseph Campbell's wisdom, which I maybe didn't do the perfect job of conveying, but it's really good. And if you want more of it, you can check out his book. So Reflections on the Art of Living, which was kind of put together and edited by a woman named Diane Osborne. But of course, it's Joseph Campbell's teachings and wisdom. So if this video was helpful, here's a video that YouTube suggests and thinks you'll like by me. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Down below, I also offer plenty of tools and resources on a variety of topics, all of them relating to the art and science of happiness. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. This has been your happiness nerd, Jackson Kirchis.